y'all know what time it is, T-Law got the eyes of Lee Van Cleef when he go in that field.
Checks it down underneath. That's a crossing route to Christian Kirk. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. Christian Kirk to the goal line. Touchdown, Jacksonville.
They made a major mistake when they made T-Law go to the spirit of the sky, to the oracle of the saber-toothed tiger, and the saber-toothed tiger now has the scepter in his hand, and he been to put every critic to rest. Man, last night I done marinated 2 turkeys. I got my cherry wood getting ready for my smoker. Just got off from work, off picture roll. I'm gonna bake me 2 Cornish hens. My special recipe, I call it the Mediterranean Cornish hen. I'm gonna top it off with my homemade Long Island iced tea. And I'm only gonna top it off with 1 red top of Coca-Cola. The Maxwell House coffee will live on forever. Duval!
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Jaguars Today on a Top 5 Tuesday. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark here with you. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I feel like there are a lot of Jaguar topics that we have stumbled into today that we will discuss throughout the course of the program, but I feel like this is Dylan Denmark's big moment right
Yes, sir.
here. Put the hat back on, man. People need the full effect if you're going to go all Mr. Two Bits on it over there. And if you're watching
Gator basketball.
yeah, you can tune in on the YouTube channel. Do we stream this Twitter video somehow as well?
It's on Twitter.
It's on Twitter, YouTube,
and
Facebook, any of those. And you need to center up that camera a little bit better. We need to get you right there. There you go. There you go. You got the Mr. Two Bits T-shirt with the fake tie on it right there, representing your squad last night. What was your stress level last night, Dylan Denmark?
It was about a 7. It was about a 7 or 8 out of 10. I was by myself, so it was pretty chill. But I did not think we were gonna win that game. I still don't know how we won that game. I don't know how we did it. But it happened.
You played good defense. Houston didn't have a cohesive plan on offense to get a shot off, I guess.
On the last 2 possessions.
Yeah.
Last 2 possessions, you don't get a shot. That is.
You know what I found?
Tragic.
I don't know if, I discovered this, Tony, watching probably baseball. It might have been fantasy football. You know, I stream stats on my iPad, right? And I'll have a game on TV, and I realize a lot of times the broadcast is behind what's actually happening by a decent amount sometimes. Like, the delay is
sometimes it's like 30, 45 seconds.
Right? I mean, like we're in a commercial timeout on my phone, and on TV, they're still like 30 seconds of game time away from that at times. So it's kind of like peering into the future. And I've gotten to enjoy watching sports that way to some degree. Like, I know if something good is coming, I can focus in. If something bad is coming, or the end of the inning or whatever, I can, if I'm flipping around, I can flip off of it if I want to. I don't know.
Last night was one of those classic, if you like sports, it's 4 things like last night. And you can recognize when scars that are going to be lifelong are developed, right? For Houston, if you're a Houston fan, you never get over last night. Never. Right? Like a 12-point lead in a national championship game. You don't get a shot up in the last 2 possessions. If the 12-point lead had just turned into a win for Houston somehow, I think Gator fans today go, darn, almost had it.
It was a good team.
Right? Like, that would be the reaction because of the way that game went. Right? But the scars created by being on the losing side of that kind of moment, you never get over.
Although I think it's different if it's Duke, who you're probably expecting to play, and you lose, you go, well, it's Duke. I think even though the game played out the way it played out, if you end up losing, you're like, man, we hit Houston. We were served up Houston instead of who we expected. Granted, number 1 seed. Anyway, I won't go as far to say congratulations to the Florida Gators, but I'm happy for Dylan Denmark's mental health today. So that's as far as that is high praise for you, by the way, because I would not wish congratulations on anyone today. Anyway, There you have it. All right, so you either get a 2-hour respite from the Gator Love Fest, or you just are going to be missing Gator Love Fest for the next 2 hours, one or the other, because it is time for Jaguars Today on a Tuesday Top 5, Tony. This is a harder question for me today than I thought it was going to be. And I did not give the early preview yesterday, I'll be honest with you. I knew I had two things to do on the computer. One had to do with my SiriusXM contract. One had to do with the Tuesday Top 5. I took care of my SiriusXM contract, and I thought, was there something else I needed to be doing today on here? I don't think so. Yeah. And so it shows you where my priorities were yesterday. But today we're asking you, this is the way we framed it. Instead of who the Jags have reported to be interested in, who are the top 5 non-quarterbacks that you do not want the Jaguars to select in the 2025 NFL draft? And that's as simple as that. We know, look, maybe they'll draft a quarterback in the 6th or 7th round. I don't know. And if they do, I'm fine with that, especially because this draft thins out in a lot of places on talent when you get that late. But for the most part, just taking those out because, Shedeur Sanders, obviously, we don't want to draft him at 5 or whomever, Jackson Dart. So why waste time with all that? Who are some of these? And I'll be honest with you, one of the first replies we got today, I wasn't sure if they read the question right or not, because the 5 players Kevin gave us were Travis Hunter, Jalen Walker, Ted McMillan, Ashton Genty, and Tyler Warren, all guys that they could conceivably be interested in at 5 or after a small trade back. And, then I just looked at it and said, I guess he just wants to make sure that we take somebody on the line of scrimmage, meaning an interior defender, not an edge rusher, or an offensive lineman with the 5th pick of the draft. And anything else is not going to satisfy him. So there you have it.
That's fine.
Travis Hunter be high on my list of guys. Will not be coming to the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? At this point, the betting markets are lining up with what the pundits are saying. It looks like Cleveland is focusing in on Travis Hunter. A lot of people feel the Giants are going to pass on Shedeur Sanders, and it'll be Abdul Carter. So it is potentially that, quote, worst-case scenario with both of them gone and a position player the Jags could be interested in going at 4 to the New England Patriots as well. I heard Adam Schefter say on ESPN, Tone, that there are teams out there that think there is not a discernible difference in value between the 5th and the 32nd pick in this year's draft. In other words, if you don't get one of those couple of top rare guys, maybe Cam Ward if you're quarterback needy, good luck finding a trade back partner in 2025.
I remember the whispers of that kind of conversation were going on before last season even ended, right? Like that's the reality of this draft class is there's a couple of really high priority guys in the draft and not a whole lot else. Like there's a big group of guys that are all going to be grouped together. And when the Jags were coming to the end of the season, we knew. Right?
Yes.
Like we knew when they won that game against the Titans, I wasn't upset that they won. I'm still not upset that they won.
Right.
I'm really not.
I expect them to go out and try and win.
Right.
Right.
Like,
So
I'm still not, but it did cost them the number 1 pick, and now they're picking 5th in a draft where 5th is about the same as 15 in a lot of people's eyes.
I got to the point where I'm not going to openly just root for their failure, right? Like when they're in the pole position to get Trevor Lawrence, it was different. The quarterback, and the whole thing. But like, I would have been happier with the outcome of them losing because you'd be sitting there right now going, okay, what are we going to squeeze out of the Giants for Cam Ward? Or can we get a 2nd this year and a 2nd next year? We'll drop back to 3. We'll get one of those 2 super elite players, whichever one it happens to last. Or maybe we do the same deal with Cleveland. Then we get our choice of those guys. And instead of picking at 5 and not getting any of those players or either one of those players and have the additional draft capital, that's where we're at. But we got that win against the Titans. It made you feel good for a few hours on one Sunday afternoon. I get it. That's the name of the game is to win football games. But the name of the game is also to win a championship. And losing that game would have better positioned them today in terms of the assets they have to pursue that championship. So anyway, that's neither here nor there for today. So top 5 non-quarterbacks that you do not want the Jaguars to select. And they don't have to be targets with the 5th pick. I've got a few throughout the draft, but they can be whatever you like as long as they're 5 guys you really don't want to see the Jags take in the draft coming up in a couple of weeks. We got a lot of little nuggets to get into today. Mel Kiper's got a 2-round mock. Todd Bowles had some very interesting comments, I thought, at the owners' meetings regarding the draft and strategy. And as much as we talk about Liam Cohen being influenced by Sean McVay, could he have been influenced somewhat by Todd Bowles? And if so, could that color what the Jags' plans are early in this draft based on the comments Bowles made, which we'll share with you coming up here in a few minutes. Also, Trayvon Walker gets the 5th-year option picked up. That means Devin Lloyd, so far at least, hasn't had the 5th-year option picked up. Tone, what would be the most logical reason for them to announce one 5th-year option and then wait on the other one? If they're working on a contract with Devin Lloyd, I mean, but which I don't anticipate being the case, but I'm trying to come up with.
We know they're working on a contract with Walker. They may not be in the details stage, but they're at least willing to talk
interested
to him
in that
about a contract. So if they're willing to, I can't think of a logical reason. It did crack me up this morning when they announced the new numbers that players are going to be wearing, and Lloyd switched to number 0, right? I was like, oh, that's about how much longer he has.
Does that mean he's going to be in Tennessee next year, too? Is that how that's going to work out? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't mean there's still time. It doesn't mean the deadline is today, but it's just odd to me.
If you're going to do it, you would do it at the same time.
You put out a press release and say, all right, we're picking up the 5th-year option on these 2 players because most teams don't have 2 5th-round player option eligible players. They happen to have 2 picks in the 2022 first round after trading up and selecting Devin Lloyd. So if that's the case, what does that mean for the future of the linebacking core, and how could that impact what they do in the upcoming NFL draft as well? So we got a bunch to dig into today, but we'd love for you to share with us your Tuesday top 5s. You can call in at 641-1010. Same number for the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You can hop in the YouTube virtual studio chat. You can hit us up on social media at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and at 1010XL Denmark.
I love being a Gator, man. Gator boys, stay hot.
I knew it was going to be I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. I thought it would be something like the Florida Gators are national champions. Was that Iron Eagle?
Yeah, he made the call.
All right. Fair enough. Like I said, I tuned in for the last 5 minutes of it.
So you saw the whole game.
And basically,
that's all you needed to see.
I mean, that's all you really need to see.
It's like NASCAR. You just got to turn on the last 10, 15 laps. You see the whole race.
Hey, look, if it's your squad, it's a different story, right? And if I was like a college basketball purist, which I haven't been for a long time, and I love the first couple rounds of the tournament. The excitement, the potential upsets, following your bracket. When it came down to this, I get it. Gator fans beside themselves today, as well they should be. All right, we're ready to roll. Jaguars Today, Tuesday, top 5 non-quarterbacks that you don't want to hear their names called when the Jags have a pick in the upcoming NFL draft. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and the victorious Dylan Denmark here with you on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
If you come with us, you're in this life for good.
This is it. Yeah, this is it. This is what?
1010XL.
This is the Mangler. Years of playing football coupled with lifestyle left my feet mangled with neuropathy. I was experiencing burning, tingling, and numbness. I spoke with 2 foot specialists, and they told me there was no cure. They were wrong. I found Dr. Nate Riddle in Ponte Vedra. After utilizing his neuropathy treatment for only 2 weeks, I noticed a difference in my feet. I was regaining my feeling and balance. If you want relief from nerve pain, call Dr. Nate for a free consultation at Riddle Wellness, 904-395-5598.
Leon Cersei here. Let's be real. I used to eat like a lineman because I was one. And man, those habits are hard to break. I needed help to stop with the munchies and lose weight. But now, I'm bringing sexy back. I call Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their medical team is helping me shed pounds safely with a custom plan to help me slim down. And their firm pricing means same price every month. Hey, you want to bring sexy back? Visit Physician Guided Weight Loss at pgweightloss.com.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? Topdressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit topdressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with topdressing.com.
Spring and summer are coming. Will your pool deck be ready? Don't Slip Deck Coatings of Jacksonville has you covered. Their multi-layered slip-resistant coatings come in a variety of colors, adding safety, durability, and style to your outdoor spaces. Plus, they offer slip-resistant solutions for inside your home, too. Long-lasting, affordable, and built to protect your family. Don't wait. Call today for a free quote. 904-466-1839. And follow Don't Slip Jacks on Facebook and Instagram.
Prosser here. Spring has sprung, and it's a great time to sell your house, but only if you have the very best on your side, and those very best are Chad and Sandy Newman. Spring selling season's here. Rates are down. Activity's up. It's the best time in years to sell your home, in fact, but there are homes sitting on the market. They don't have the right representation. That's where Chad and Sandy step in. Maybe you're worried your home needs repairs or updating and it won't sell for a good price. Maybe your family's growing and you need more space. Whatever the reason that you need to sell your home, Chad and Sandy deliver this promise to you. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Sounds pretty hassle-free to me. Take it from Mike and Rosemary in St. Augustine. We were determined to buy an affordable home in a specific school zone, but we didn't qualify for the loan needed to get one. Chad and Sandy's team worked with the lender, negotiated a higher qualification price, lower interest. It was huge, $200 less per month. Do it today. Call 414-6200 or go to chadandsandy.com.
To the T here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes through in the clutch? From lunch to late night, only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Stick around after the sunset, and Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites. Come on, somebody.
The best teal-colored coverage includes Mia's Quick Hits.
Get the latest news from inside the building and around the league. I'm Mia O'Brien, 1010XL's NFL Insider.
Driven by Arlington Toyota. Available on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
A chipped windshield can turn into a big problem fast. Lauren Brooks here. Trust Novus Glass of Jacksonville for expert repair and replacement. Call 904-289-2905 for Novus Glass in Orange Park. 904-289-2905.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Are you an experienced chiller technician and looking for a role where your skills are truly valued? It's time to make the move to Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. You'll get top pay, comprehensive health and welfare benefits for your family, and a pension that doesn't come out of your pocket. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer.
It's ET here, and did you know that slow speed accidents can still cause serious injuries? Ignoring minor pain today can mean big problems tomorrow. Don't wait. Call my guys at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center, the auto accident experts.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 15% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
You're not pumping in any kind of funny gas in here, are you, Denmark? I got crazy dizzy a second ago. Like, the whole room started spinning on your boy right there, Tony. I don't know what's going on. I feel fine now. Just fair warning, if I keel over out of my chair today, you can anticipate that perhaps coming down the line. So, by the way, the fifth-year option deadline is not until May 1st. So it's possible the Jags want to see what falls to them in the draft and what direction they're going to go as far as that goes. And a lot of teams, for that matter. Trayvon Walker, I believe, is the first guy to officially have a standalone fifth-year option picked up among the 2022 draft class.
Correct.
All right, because you had Derek Stingley, had his picked up as part of an extension, right? So that would count for like next year's salary, but it's part of a multi-year extension. There have actually been several players from that 2022 first round that have already been traded to other teams, given up on by the team that selected them. So I'm not saying that the Jags still don't have time to pick up the fifth-year option on Devin Lloyd, but they also didn't need to do it immediately on Trayvon Walker. They felt like, okay, you know what? We've got voluntary workouts coming up. They're in the building today for the first time as a team under Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and Tony Baselli and all the new coaches that are going to be there. And, okay, let's take care of some of this business. Trayvon, we know you're going to be a long-term part of this future. This is kind of a placeholder. I've already expressed the desire to get a long-term deal done with you. I don't know what this means about Devin Lloyd. Tony, when you look at it, you got Foye, who's under contract, going to be here, you would assume, for a few more years. Who knows what they think about Devin Lloyd? Who knows what they think about Ventrell Miller, Chad Muma? They don't have a lot of options on this bench, though. You know what I mean? In terms of, like, depth or a guy that you would build something around.
They're not turning to this guy, and it's clear what that guy is.
At least
they don't have that.
In our mind, right? Yeah. Now, like, Ventrell Miller maybe turns into that guy.
Sure.
I don't know, but I don't know if they've seen enough from Ventrell Miller to have that assessment.
There's no clamoring for them to hand the job to somebody else.
Correct.
Right? Like, there's no one to really hand it to. It's not that someone else can't. Ventrell might be fine, right? If they gave him that kind of responsibility, I think he would be okay in that kind of position, but I don't think it's one of those where it's like, well, you have to do it. This guy's got the opportunity to be a big-time player for him. I don't have any sense of that kind of thing happening. So linebacker certainly in the cards at some point.
I don't think it's like a super high priority because you can play a lot of formations with two linebackers, right? And you're going to play a lot with only two linebackers on the field, particularly when you invest as much in a slot or nickel corner as you did this time. You can imagine Jordan Lewis is going to be on the field a ton. And so it may not be that big of a deal in the short term, but the long-term succession plan there, Foye will be 30 by the time the season kicks off. That's not ancient. I think Foye can still play at the kind of linebacker he is. His game doesn't rely as much on explosiveness as it does, to me, on good recognition, being in the right spot, good fundamentals. I think his game will age fairly well. Maybe they find out that, Devin Lloyd can serve as somewhat of a third pass rusher for this team, which seems like Jaguar fandom has been clamoring for a while. But, it could just be a simple case of let's see what we get, what the draft affords us opportunity-wise before we make this final decision. But, my immediate reaction is they're not going to pick up that fifth-year option on Devin Lloyd. And I'm not saying that's a shock if they don't, because Trayvon, for instance, will cost $14 million next year, a little over $14 million. But he was the number one overall pick. So it's slotted down the line. But it's going to be a significant chunk of coin.
Yeah.
And is Devin Lloyd, in their eyes, worth that based on the film that they have at their disposal to judge that?
Well, he's still a first-round pick.
He is?
And the indications right now are that he's not going to be here for a second contract.
And if he's not going to be here for a second contract, and you feel that way, and I'm not saying that's written in stone.
No.
I don't have any inside information on this. I'm just trying to read the tea leaves. But
it feels like that's the direction it's going.
And let's say in their mind, they're like, we'll let it play out. We'll keep our options open. Doesn't that make Devin Lloyd a trade candidate? Right? I mean, if you only have a guy for one more year.
It does, but it's another one of those guys. It's like the ETN thing.
What are you going to get?
Yeah. 6th-round pick, maybe. Like, that feels like where it would kind of be in my mind.
I don't know. In a draft that's not supposed to be a loaded draft, Like ETN in particular, running back is stuffed. In a draft that's not great, that's the position you feel like you can wait on and probably get in the 5th round for a lot of teams. Or maybe some guys will be overdrafted because there aren't other special talents there. I don't know about linebacker as much. I don't feel like there's that kind of depth this year.
Well, maybe a team would be willing to trade for him, but if they did, it would have to be with the intention of him becoming an edge player.
Maybe.
Right? Because we've seen it here. He can't play coverage. Right? And anybody, if any team is looking at trading for Devin Lloyd and they know that we can't use him to play coverage and right now he's an off-ball linebacker, what exactly are you willing to give up for a guy who can't play in space like that at that position in today's NFL?
All right, what if it's not strictly, I'm going to give you a draft pick? What if it's the Jags are trying to move around the board and they want to move up and they use Devin Lloyd as some of their collateral? I'm not trying to push him out the door. I'm just saying that to me, it's a peek into the mindset, the potential mindset of James Gladstone and Liam Cohen as to Devin Lloyd's future here. And if the future is not beyond this year, and I think they're looking at this, they're not going to use the word rebuild, Tony, but I don't think they're lining up for a Super Bowl run in 2025 in their own minds. I think they've got a lot of work. This is a year to get the roster right, to get rid of the pieces that don't fit. And that included, could we have gotten some value out of Evan Ingram for one more year? I absolutely think we could have, right? But if they don't see him as a perfect fit for what they want to do, and he's not part of the long-term plan, they decided to move on, save that salary cap space. If you can actually get something for Devin Lloyd, even if it's like, hey, I'm trying to trade up from the 4th into the 3rd, and I got to give you Devin Lloyd to do it, if you feel like, and again, I'm just going off of what is a hypothetical. Maybe they watch the film and they say, we think Ventrell Miller can do 90% of what Devin Lloyd can do at a cheaper price. He's going to be here a little bit longer. Let's roll with him. Maybe we'll find a linebacker in the draft, and let's use him as a chip if we can. To move
I certainly think that's on the table, right? I think Devin Lloyd is available to be moved because I don't think they have any long-term plans for him. And I don't know how much more do you value Devin Lloyd than you do Ventrell Miller?
I don't know if I do at all.
Right.
Quite frankly.
So from a team perspective, if that's the way they evaluate it, then no, it's not a big deal. If that's the thing that's going to allow us to get a deal done that we feel like we want to get done today, then yeah, I certainly think all those options are on the table. It's one of those where it's hard for me to imagine another team being interested.
I can hear you.
It's just hard.
It would be a case to me that you'd have to have a team because it's not an aging player. This is still a young player. Only played 3 years in the league, where they would have to have had just a really good evaluation of Devin Lloyd coming out of school, right? And if they liked him and thought maybe he was a top 50 player, and that obviously, there was a lot of talk that he was. It wasn't shocking that he went in the 1st round. I think it was a surprise that the Jags were the team that went up and made the move.
Do it, yeah.
But, if you've got a team like that feels that way, then maybe that's the kind of team that you could target a little bit. Anyway, again, I'm not trying to push them off the roster. I'm just looking at trying to read the tea leaves. For all we know, later on today, they'll send out an email announcing they picked up the 5th-year option on Devin Lloyd. Then it's a moot point. But until they do,
why didn't you do it yesterday?
That's just the curious thing to me, right? So if you haven't done that, why the separation in the timing, particularly because if anybody is going to get an extension, we know it's going to be Trayvon Walker. You don't, and this may just be a case of, okay, we know Trayvon's going to be around. We can work on that later on. Let's just take care of this now. We got our focus on a lot of different other things with the draft coming up. How old's Devin Lloyd, by the way? I'm just checking here. He's 26. So he's not he'll be 27, not a spring chicken, but certainly not old by NFL standards, All right, let's come back and let's get into some comments Todd Bowles made, the head coach of the Buccaneers. And does this have any tell as to, how Liam Cohen thinks? Because he spent the year with Todd Bowles. We certainly think that Liam Cohen's mind aligns a lot with Sean McVay. We've heard a lot about that. What about his former coach and the comments he made about how he approaches the NFL draft at this stage of his career, I thought were pretty interesting and could reflect on what the Jags decide to do with that 5th pick early on. So we'll get into that coming up next. We'll get to our top 5s in hour number 2. You can submit those, your top 5 list of non-quarterbacks that you don't want the Jags to draft. In other words, leave the QBs to the side. Out of all the other positions, which are the 5 players that you're not feeling comfortable, whether it's the fit, maybe it's off-field issues. It could be a combination of any number of things. The guys you don't want to see in teal coming up after this year's NFL draft. We'll get into all that and more. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Door Studios. Superior products, exceptional service. Ever wonder what Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser did before the drill?
The new teen sensations, the Wonder.
Dan and Jeff.
Now that is funny. I am keeping their dreams alive.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Enhance your home with Renewal by Anderson's superior craftsmanship and timeless design. Right now, get $300 off all windows or $825 off patio doors. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months, but this offer expires April 30th. Renewal by Anderson, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free consultation.
License number CGC 1527613.
If you've been in an auto accident, you can count on the experts at San Jose Collision to return your vehicle to pre-accident conditions. San Jose Collision can also provide a fresh paint job to freshen up your vehicle or completely change its appearance. They can paint and repair all foreign and domestic cars and trucks. When quality and professionalism are important to you, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to website CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com, and let them show you how the job is supposed to get done. Hello, sports fans. Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I am Beach's Dermatology are reminding you to wear your sunscreen. If you're an active parent hanging at the fields, in your boat to fish, or like to chill at the sandbar, wear sunscreen. But if you're the one that decided for years it's not cool, guess what? Cancer isn't cool either. So when grabbing the clubs for your tea time, gassing up the boat, or grabbing the chairs for your kids' games, make sure you bring the screen. Any concerns now? Give Beach's Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
Discuss the beautiful game. The Coaches Show presented by Sporting Jacks. Cole Pepper, Sporting Jacks head of soccer Mark Warburton, and Sporting Jacks women's coach Stacey Ballard. Get an hour of soccer talk Tuesday evenings at 6 on 1010 a.m.
Hacker here, and guess what my scale reads? 195 pounds. I'm shocked seeing that number, but it's there every month. The weight is staying off after dropping 122 pounds. Absolutely life-changing. Awaken180weightloss.com.
Beat the spring cleaning rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified and take 25% off all services. Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com and tell them Hicken or 1010XL sent you. Zero Res. Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight, but it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air & Plumbing, we can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
Your tax refund is here. Why not invest in your home? Superior Fence and Rail helps you build value with beautiful, durable fences that boost your home security, privacy, and curb appeal. With expert installation and financing options, turning your yard into an outdoor oasis is easier than ever. Reinvest in your home today with Superior Fence and Rail.
When you're on the fence, about the fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
I saw Kuiper's mock today, Tony. Mock, I think it's 4.0 for Mel Kiper. 2-rounder. Jags take Mason Graham, Emeka Egbuka. Mm-hmm. I'd probably live with that. You know?
Yeah.
I think Egbuka at 36 boosts it a little bit. When you look at this team, who are the playmakers right now? Who are the, other than Brian Thomas Jr., that you can count on? Who do you feel the best about? What single guy? ETN?
Probably. I mean, I like Strange, but I don't expect much out of the tight end position here. Yeah.
Right, and if you don't, is Tyler Warren, should Tyler Warren be on your radar? Maybe if we drafted Tyler Warren, it would be a different story.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the ETN call just because I do think what you saw happen in Tampa was they ran screens a bunch to their backs, and I think ETN can be really effective in that kind of role. And the offense is just not something that he's been asked over the last couple of years to do. As much as we've all, like every week, said, why can't he catch 4 or 5 passes a week? Why don't they expand that into what they use him to do? So I do think there's the opportunity for expansion there for ETN. So I think beyond Brian Thomas Jr., I think it is ETN, but I can understand, the reasoning behind the question being, where is that, right, in the offense right now? Not that they can't have a plan for how to use some of these guys better than they've been being used, but yeah, it's wide open as far as the questions behind BTJ right now.
All right, here is what Todd Bowles said at the owners' meetings. And again, I don't expect Todd Bowles and Liam Cohen, just because they work together, to think exactly the same. But we do hear a lot of, they're another branch off the McVay tree.
Yeah.
Okay, so and how long did Liam Cohen spend with Sean McVay, right? It's not like he was there for 10 years, right? So I get it. Sean McVay's been very successful. Todd Bowles has been pretty successful as well. Including last year, had a nice year there in Tampa. And so does his philosophy jibe with Liam Cohen's? Now, granted, talking about they want to build this team from the trenches out, obviously, okay? But trenches on which side? What's more important? We know this. They said to help Trevor Lawrence, they need a good running game, right? That's one of the ways. They don't have enough weapons for Trevor. I think you and I agree on that right now. You got to replace Ingram. You got to replace Kirk. And I understand they've been injured a lot and weren't always on the field. So it's not like you're going to necessarily miss high-volume participation from last year at least. But here's what Bowles said at the owners' meetings when asked about drafting philosophy. Quote, being a defensive coach, I learned that you win by scoring points. I don't ever want to bypass a very good offensive player. I can figure things out enough on defense to keep us competitive. I'd like to have some defensive players if that presented itself, but by no means will I bypass a very good offensive player just to satisfy my needs on defense. You can figure out how to keep the score down, but you can't figure out a way to keep scoring points, especially if your horses go down. You can never have enough horses on offense. This is a defensive-minded coach speaking. But yes, I'd like to add some pieces on defense if that's what you're asking me, but whether they come in the first or whether they come in the middle remains to be seen. Let's ask Dylan this. You stepped out of the room. Who's going to impact, and I get it, it's not just a one-year thing, but who's going to impact the one-loss record more in 2025 if they were to draft them, in your opinion? And I get it, there are 9 other selections, but Mason Graham or Ashton Genty?
That's tight.
I think it's Genty by a mile.
No, I think the potential of adding someone on the interior of the defensive line and what that could open up for the 2 edge guys they have, right? Like that's, I do think those 2 things can directly help one another. But
I just find it hard to think that
running
many
backs
guys
seem to have more of an impact.
Well, you're going to have 300 plus touches, right? And obviously, if you're drafting a guy, and I'm not making this push to draft Ashton Genty. Maybe it's Ted McMillan. Again, who are the weapons in this Trevor Lawrence-led offense other than Brian Thomas Jr. that you really can count on? Okay? Is Etienne going to sign here beyond this year? I don't think so.
Yeah, unclear, but
I mean,
probably not.
Put it this way. If you're a team that's not on the brink, are you going to spend a bunch of free agent money on a running back when we've seen how replaceable sometimes these guys are? Genty is supposed to be a different level. Right? Yeah. He's not supposed to be just another good running back or just a first-round running back. He's supposed to be on the Tomlinson, Barkley kind of level.
Yeah.
Right? Special, different. And again, look, I'd love some of these drafts where we get Emeka Egbuka at 36. I'm not counting on that at all. You know, and again, for me, Tyler Warren at 5 is rich for my blood. I'd like to see a trade back, but what trade back looks like it's potentially developing here. We don't know until that night. Maybe somebody does say, hey, I like Shedeur Sanders, and I'm not going to take a chance that the Jets are going to get him. If you're the Saints, maybe you want to jump up to 5 if it's a reasonable price because he is your quarterback. Great.
The options you're going to have available to you at 5 seem to be becoming more and more clear, right? What's going to be on the table for the Jags at 5 seems to be clear. 36 and beyond is wide open.
Wide open.
Don't count on anything.
What's clear is you're probably not going to get Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Yeah. And I'm guessing then if that's the 2-3 in whatever order, the Patriots go with their favorite offensive lineman.
Probably.
So you might not have your top choice of offensive lineman. You might.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they like somebody different than you do. Maybe they go Campbell, you like Membo, Kelvin Banks, whatever the case.
Or vice versa.
Maybe. Yeah. Exactly. And maybe they do take Mason Graham. You know, I really haven't looked into, or maybe one of those other teams do, but it does seem like now it's getting down to where Hunter is getting more and more associated with Cleveland, and Carter would be too good of a prospect to pass up for the Giants, basically. Even though they have some options with Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau at defensive end, that Carter, many people think is the best player, period, in the draft. So those guys gone. So what do you do when you're sitting there? Especially in a defensive tackle-rich class. Even at 3 technique. And Mason Graham may be the best of that group. But, you know, I mean, and they've got to game it out. But if you could get Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State at 36, and you don't know that for sure, some of these other defensive tackles, and I've been saying it for a while, I'm more interested in the run stuffer like Kenneth Grant or that type, or the Alfred Collins type, if I can get him at 36 or 70. Grant's not going to be there at 70. He may well be long gone by the end of the first round.
Could be. Yep.
But maybe not.
Maybe not.
You know, I don't know.
You make the pick at 5, you have control over what you're doing there. Don't count on anything at 36. Nothing. Right? You have no idea what the run's going to be or where in the first round.
No, but you do know what the depth is like.
You do.
Right? So you may not get a specific player.
Right. That's more the thing. I want Grant at 36. So what?
Great. Right, exactly.
Like,
but I would be happy with Grant or Williams or this guy or that guy or the other guy. And the chances are, after gaming it out,
Totally
that
fine.
at least two of them are going to be available.
Yeah, totally fine. And I don't think that's an unreasonable way to approach it. They know what's basically going to be available to them at 5. It's not like they're dumb. They know exactly what's going on with the first 4 picks.
They don't know one name.
They don't know
that's gonna be
exactly
off the
what
board.
New England's going to do, but that's the only kind of open question right now in most people's minds. And that's certainly what I expect to be going on down there when they're talking about it right now. If for whatever amount of time that they're talking about 5, still at this point in the process, my guess is they're pretty locked in, getting pretty close to locked into what they expect to happen. They're at 5, that they're talking more about everything beyond that and how they feel about a bunch of different players at different points in the draft and the buckets, like trying to fill the buckets.
How much does that impact, though, that conversation? Like, you sit there at 5, okay, we're our favorite guy is this guy. And then you look down and you're like, because you assume they're going to do multiple in-house mock drafts of their own. Most teams do.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you sit there and you take Mason Graham, and he's your favorite player there at 5, and because maybe he's the safest or he's whatever, and you keep going, man, I could have had this at 36. I could have had this at 70. I could have had this at 88. And again, you could argue the same for running back. I understand that. You know, I pass on Genty. I can get a really good running back at 36 as well. To me, like, and I didn't put this in my Tuesday top 5 among players I don't want. I considered any running back in rounds like 2 and 3. You know what I mean? Like Genty may be special enough, and granted, you'd have to use your first pick on him, that he may be the exception to the rule. But then I feel like, all right, once I get out of that mindset, if it's not him, there's no one other guy I have to have. That if Travion Henderson's gone, I can wait and get another back. I can get this guy, I can get that guy. But it's interesting to me that Bowles, being a defensive-minded guy, is like, hey, man, I'm not stupid. I see the way the league is. Now, granted, McVay, last year, what'd they do? They drafted a couple of Florida State defensive linemen, and they succeeded brilliantly.
Right,
with them.
and it's hard to tell how much of that with Bowles is he is a really good defensive mind. Right, so
and he feels like he can scheme something up.
So part of that is the way that he thinks about it is, yeah, give me a bunch of guys, I'll turn it into something.
Right, does Liam Cohen think, hey, you go get me De'Ami Brown, and I see something in De'Ami Brown. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that is possible. I'm not saying declaratively.
No.
Which I just find it fascinating to me. We get out of this bubble. It's like Kuiper said, and I don't have it right in front of me, but his comments about mocking Mason Graham, he goes, I have nothing else to say about this selection. I've mocked Mason Graham to the Jags, every single one of my mocks, to the point where I'm like, it's just like rote. It's like, it kind of makes sense. I'll put him in there. I don't have to think about it very much. I'm going to move on to the next guy.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think out of the box a little bit. Like, what happened to Ted McMillan being a coveted guy here among some in the fan base, right? And I think he was coveted amongst our own rankings as well, like at least intriguing.
Yeah.
What made him fall back? He didn't want to run at the combine. Okay, but then he ended up running at his pro day, and he ran. One report said 4.48, but most of them had him as like a 4.55 guy, which is like what you expect for a guy his size. It wasn't a number that was shocking and you thought, oh wow, that's way overboard for this guy. You know what I mean? Like I just wonder if Trevor Lawrence is the most important piece, and it could be offensive line that helps Trevor. Granted, we need help at defensive tackle, but we need help in a lot of spots. What's going to have the biggest impact on this football team in combination with what you can do with your other 9 selections? And, we're not going to know for a few weeks how they see it.
No.
But I really thought that was interesting. And, Liam Cohen, obviously, I'm sure spent a lot of quality time with Todd Bowles last year. And you wonder how much their philosophies mesh. And being that he is an offensive-minded guy, does he have that preference? Again, I think Gladstone is a Liam Cohen kind of centric setup here. But as he said, himself last week, that James Gladstone knows so much more about. I'm learning stuff about the scouting process. Like, he may say, look, this is what we need for this football team. But it's kind of, to me, then on James Gladstone to decipher who that player or players are.
Yeah.
and the combination of the ways they come off the board. So, anyway, interesting stuff, I thought, from Todd Bowles. You win by scoring points. It seems obvious, but even for a defensive-minded coach, is that a tell for what the Jags may be thinking?
The NFL, and it's been this way for a while now, you score points, and you have somebody on your defense that can hit the quarterback.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And we got those guys.
Right. Now, like I do, as I mentioned, I do think Mason Graham helps those guys. I do.
Obviously.
Right, like I believe that kind of thing. That's not, as I said here for the last week, I'm back into leaning towards offensive line at 5. It's where if I had to guess right now which direction they're going to go at 5, I would guess offensive line is where I would lean.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slight lean, but that's where I would lean.
But if you're Mason Graham and you improve that pass rush on third down, you still need to have leads in the second half of games. You still need to score those points to make that pass rush that much more effective and be able to get in that pure pass rush mode and to get the most out of Mason Graham.
You can't fix everything at 5.
You can't, right?
And you got to figure out what is the best thing that we can do in this moment.
And what is the most important thing they can do on this football team? It's to support Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, it's to maximize Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's obvious, though. This is the guy they're locked into for the next several years.
Yeah.
For better or worse, let's make it better, right? And right now, you could argue maybe they've improved the O-line to some degree, but they've taken a step back in the weapons department there for him. So, and again, they want to prioritize big guys. All that's fine. It just a fly on the wall is what I'd like to be right now. I really would. All right. We'll get into hour 2. Tony will take us around the league. We'll unveil our top 5 do not draft lists for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Non-quarterbacks that we do not want to hear their names called for Jacksonville. We'll get into that in hour number 2 as well. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods, sandwiches, subs, absolutely. You know what? No matter what the weather is, Dandy's got some cool options, some delicious fruit cups, veggie trays. If it's warm outside, if it's a little cool in the morning, they've got some things to warm you up like country sausage biscuits. Their delicious meatball subs, the Boom Boom steak subs. Man, Dandy has been going on and on for nearly 7 decades. I'm happy to have been associated with them for the last 10 years plus, and I've been a Dandy fan and a Dandy customer for a lot longer than that, though. If you've lived in Jacksonville for any period of time, you've probably run into Dandy. Dandy and the Anytime Deli line of sandwiches and subs and all the other offerings they've got. Swing into any gate station, head to the Fresh Case, and just be blown away by how many options they provide you, and you can know that they're all made with the highest quality ingredients that Dandy can find. The Thompson family, a local family, started Dandy nearly 70 years ago. When you're hungry in Duval, you can't do better than going out and making yours a Dandy and doing it today.
Jaguars Today. From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
I did not see this one coming.
Radio play-by-play is like stepping in a theater in your mind.
As good as it gets.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Right now, get 15% off roof replacement and repairs. Financing's available with monthly payments as low as $115. But this deal ends April 30th. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
For the greenest, luscious lawn on the block, choose the local legends, Roundtree Sod. Don't just settle for ordinary. Let Roundtree Sod deliver you a picture-perfect lawn. To get a free estimate, call 7414-SOD. 7414-SOD.
Every morning that you wake up in a pest-free home is a good morning. And with Florida Pest Control's Pest-Free 365 Plus, you can. It's more than just a pest control or preventative maintenance plan. It's Florida Pest Control's promise that we'll be there providing pest-free living for your family all year long. To learn more about Pest-Free 365 Plus and to get your free quote, give us a call or visit flapest.com today and choose Pest-Free Living with Florida Pest Control.
A combination of peacefulness and electric energy.
Look at
this. Masters updates on 1010XL are gripped by topdressing.com and St. John's Middle School Athletic Association.
Trying to figure pricing at most AC companies is like listening to an auctioneer.
Who wants an AC tune-up? Do I hear $3.99? How about $2.99? No, let's drop it. $79? Do we have a deal? Going once, going twice? Sold!
Not at Duck Duck Air Conditioning. We make it easy. We're offering a free AC inspection. No gimmicks, no fine print, just a completely free checkup from our highly trained techs to make sure your AC is ready for summer. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, because free is better than bidding. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball is home tonight at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Don't miss the day game tomorrow and Coors Light Thirsty Thursday, followed by fireworks Friday and Saturday nights. Baseball all weekend. Tickets start at just $5. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, fellow Gen Xers, it's Elizabeth Banks. Big news! The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the charge. After all, we gave the world the internet. We're trailblazers. Let's lead the way again because we are at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Head to vaxassist.com and schedule today. That's vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
E.T. here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass, April 23rd. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area. Craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items will be present. This is one of the most impactful charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who's passionate about golf and its values, while impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee, North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL local sports update brought to you by Kuhn Flowers. The Florida Gators secured their third NCAA men's basketball national championship with a thrilling 65-63 victory over the Houston Cougars last night in San Antonio. The Gators were able to come back from a double-digit deficit to take the lead in the final minute of the game. This win marks Florida's first national title since 2007, with Gators head coach Todd Golden in his third year becoming the youngest coach to win the national title since 1983. Head coach Todd Golden postgame on the win.
A heck of an accomplishment. I'm super proud of everybody in my program, top to bottom. Staff, to help get our players to this point. And our players, they've been the difference all the way along. Been incredibly consistent all year, have worked with a great work ethic. And obviously we have an incredibly talented group, one of the most talented groups individually in America. But I do think what separates us and what has separated us all season long is our team talent and the way our guys have played together and for each other all year.
It's 62 degrees at 11 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, there you go. 1 hour in the books. Your update from Molly McDonald, Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark here with you. Got updated list of Jaguar needs according to NFL.com. You're always curious to see if they get it right, Tony. And I got a fresh mock out from Rhett Lewis over at NFL.com. Had an interesting trade in the top 10. Doesn't involve your Jags, so but before we get to any of that, let's take a look around the NFL.
Now, Gems Around the NFL. Brought to you by Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
The Tennessee Titans are hosting Ohio State offensive lineman Donovan Jackson, William and Mary offensive tackle Charles Grant, and Notre Dame safety Xavier Watts for top 30 visits this week. Running back Ashton Jeanty, who's been attached to the Las Vegas Raiders at 6 in the draft often during conversations, is scheduled to have a top 30 visit there with the Raiders this week. Florida State defensive tackle Joshua Farmer has visits with New England, Pittsburgh, and the New York Giants scheduled for this week. New England defensive tackle Christian Barmore was able to participate in the team's first day of workouts on Monday. Barmore was only able to play in 4 games last season due to issues with blood clots, and Seattle hosted cornerback Shaq Griffin for a visit yesterday.
All right, there you go. Titans, obviously, that's a group they're looking at near the top of the second round. They don't have the first pick in the second round. You know how it is when teams tie with the same record and then it kind of rotates. I think they have the third pick in round 2, regardless. But those are names, Xavier Watts among them, that are certainly expected to come off the board in that range. NFL.com's listing of the 5 biggest needs for the Jaguars. They're fairly good here with this list. Defensive line, and that can include edge and tackles. Corner, safety, O-line, wide receiver. It's funny. O-line, D-line. That's like a bunch of different positions, right? But they need guys up front. They also need wide receivers. They didn't list tight end, which, I could see them adding a tight end. I could even see them adding Tyler Warren if they trade back. I don't know if that's the play at 5 for me. Like, who impacts the game more positively for you? Again, if you're going to go skill position guy there, Jeanty, Warren. Jeanty, Warren. Jeanty, Warren. I don't know. I think you can find the all-around tight end easier than you can find the LaDainian Tomlinson level back, if that's, in fact, what Jeanty turns out to be. But anyway, this is what they said in their write-up. New GM James Gladstone comes from the Rams, Tony, where they have a clear understanding of what a disruptive interior defensive lineman can do for a team. What team doesn't have that clear understanding?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so I saw another one here in this Rhett Lewis mock on NFL.com where, what did he list? He said, James Gladstone's background with the Rams. He saw firsthand how LA's defense was transformed by the recent selections of Kobe Turner, Jared Verse, Byron Young, and Braden Fisk, most of which were not first-round picks. Correct. And yes, he is well aware that adding good defensive players will improve your defense. Who's not? Like, I feel like that's such low-hanging fruit. Oh, my gosh, James Gladstone saw that having a very accurate quarterback can help your offense move along.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's evergreen.
Right.
Like it's
Everyone
evergreen.
knows this, don't
it's
they?
like when free agency opens every year and you look at team needs and it's like, oh, offensive line and defensive line and corner. And it's like, yeah, everywhere.
Right.
Like
who doesn't need corner?
That's everywhere. Jacksonville, you are not alone. And you will not be the only team that is going to be interested in the top guard on the market. Right? Like everyone's going to be interested in one of those guys if they actually get to the point where they're going to be free agents. Because guys at that position rarely get there if they're good, right? Teams figure out a way to hold on to them. That's generally how it works in free agency. Not always, but generally how it works in free agency. If they're really, really good players, they don't get there.
Correct.
Teams figure out how to hold on to them. So when one occasionally gets there, yeah, that's the one everyone's circling when we get to that point, especially at positions where it's hard to find them.
Why didn't we get that guy?
Right. Like it's because there's 31 other teams competing with you, for that one name.
So, look, Grant, I mean, you don't have to have been under Les Snead and Sean McVay to say, wow, the Rams
Good
really hit on some of their defensive
bad
picks.
Defense, yes.
Good job by them, right? And the key is hit your picks at whatever position.
Yes.
Particularly your early ones, but they've done a good job getting guys later on defense and offense.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua later.
Their
Tyron
process
Williams
has
later.
been outstanding.
It has, right? So, find good valued players wherever you go. Kobe Turner was a third rounder, right? Fisk was a second.
Yep.
We know Verse was their first round pick last year. Who's the other one that they mentioned in that piece right here? Let me see who it was. Byron Young. What round did Byron Young come on?
He went second.
Was he a second rounder? Okay, so that's pretty early capital. No, he's a third rounder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Kobe Turner, Byron Young, third rounders, Fisk a second, and Verse a first. Look, obviously, you can take defensive players early. You can take offensive players early.
Yeah.
Some of it's filling needs. Some of it's taking the best value on the board. But to say that, wow, he saw what an infusion of really good defensive players did for their defense seems like the most common, obvious statement you could make.
And
of course
water
he does.
is wet.
Right, exactly. Like who needs it? You don't need to have worked for the Rams to have observed this from afar. Hey, you know what? Whatever they're doing seems to be working. Maybe let's draft some more good players. Here's Rhett Lewis. It's only interesting to me, this mock, because he has a big trade in the top 10 here. Is Cam Ward going to the Titans? He has Travis Hunter going number 2 to the Las Vegas Raiders. He said, I've never made a mock trade before this one, but we've never seen a player like Hunter who registers as the draft's top prospect at both receiver and corner. It just so happens those are two positions that are two of the biggest Raiders' needs, so they aggressively move up to secure a 2-for-1 with that pick. Would you say corner is a Jaguar need? So, a lot of people think it depends on how big of a need, right? Wide receiver a need for the team?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Why don't we make that move? I mean, again, it depends on what you give up. I don't know. It gets costly to get up to number 2. We've looked at, like, the price to get to 4, fine. I don't know if there's going to be a guy there that you're willing to move for to go from 5 to 4.
Right.
Because I don't think one of these other two guys is going to slide. Abdul Carter in this scenario goes to the Giants. Will Campbell then goes to the Patriots, and we take Mason Graham.
I do wonder, looking at Will Campbell, and that's not an uncommon name to see attached to the Patriots there at 4. I do wonder from a Jaguars perspective if they see a gap between Campbell and Mimbu, right? And if they would be willing to pull, like, at least make the offer.
Like a fourth rounder to move
to
up
get
one
there.
spot.
I don't know if the Patriots, if they feel that way about it too, they'd probably just say, no.
Right.
We're taking Campbell.
Right.
Right. But so the evaluation
Mimbo, for
would
that
have to
matter.
be really tight for them to do that kind of thing. But if they did like one or the other offensive lineman, do they at least make the offer? To go from 5 to 4? Because you're not telling New England really anything.
Right. They're going to say, what are you coming up for? Well, because remember we had the whole thing a couple years ago when the Jags traded back with Anton Harrison and Buffalo was coming up to get Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
And Trent Baalke described the conversation as like, what are you coming for, offense or defense? Offense. Big or little? Kind of medium?
Yeah.
Like
it is one of those where if you do go on the clock and New England is locked in on offensive line at 4.
Right.
Right. And the Jags make the offer because they're locked in on offensive line at 5, but they want to have their pick. Right. Like they have a preference of the 2 and they're not willing to give up the preference. Right. So they're willing to give up the 4th round pick to not give up the preference. You're basically, New England, is your preference clear between these two players?
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then we'll give you the 4th round pick because our preference is.
Boy, it could happen that way.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely that the Jags would have such a strong preference over knowing that they're going to get one or the other, or maybe pivot to another position entirely.
Yeah.
That they would be willing to give up
I doubt
pick in the top 120-ish.
Yeah.
Right? To move that spot where the Patriots wouldn't have as strong. Because I do think.
And I think that's where the Mason Graham thing still comes in my mind. Right? Like, say from a Jaguars perspective,
You wanted Mason Graham?
Or you do have the gap between Campbell and Mimbu. There's a gap there in your mind, right? Like, you have a clear preference between those two players, and I wouldn't be surprised if in that gap, Graham would fit, right? And so if Campbell went,
then you take Graham. But if Campbell's there, you take Campbell. It could go that way,
like
sure.
that kind of thing.
Oh, it could, right? We really won't know who they like the most until we see what's available there. But what would I would hate the absolute most in this scenario is you give up a 4th-round pick. Okay, you get the offensive lineman, your choice. Then here come the Saints. Hey, you know what? We do want to jump up to 5. You know what? I mean, we don't like if it's that. I hope it doesn't come to that. And put it this way: if it comes to that, I hope they are dead certain and they are 100% right. And that guy better be starting day one. He has to be starting day one. If you're going to trade up to pick 4 for anybody, that guy. And that's why Abdul Carter's such an interesting player. Of course, he can play linebacker for you and be your 3rd edge rusher, or maybe one day your 2nd or even 1st edge rusher. Who knows down the line? It's looking more and more like their Jags just won't have the opportunity to get Hunter or Carter at this point in time. That's kind of what you're hearing now, that they're so blue chip. Even if the Giants were to go and take Shedeur Sanders, there are some scenarios where you can see Carter there at 4, and maybe the Patriots go O-line. They need weapons for Drake May. I find it hard to believe that they would pass on Travis Hunter themselves. You know,
that would be.
They've broke down Steph Diggs for a year.
Yeah,
and like Demario Douglas and Javon Baker, who didn't even barely get on the field last year, and who else they got there? They got another. Is it Jalen Polk or is that the guy?
Yeah, they got him.
Jalen Polk with the Patriots, right?
He didn't do anything last year.
No, he didn't do much anything at all. All right, let's come back. Let's unveil our top 5 for the Tuesday top 5 today, looking for your top 5 non-quarterbacks that you don't want the Jags to draft for whatever reason. The more reasoning you give us, the more we'd appreciate it. We'll go through some of your selections a little bit later on, but we'll hit our top 5 coming up next. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Because you're not the only car on I-95.
Look, I need a spacecraft, something that can travel 300 times the speed of light.
It's the Franchi Show.
Seatbelts.
Afternoons on 1010XL. Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
Spring is in the air. Time to wake up your lawn with Heroes Lawn Care. Say goodbye to pesky mosquitoes with their organic and spray treatments. Perfect for outdoor fun. Keep your lawn clean and fresh with their pet waste removal for homes and businesses. Heroes Lawn Care takes care of it all. From mowing, edging, fertilizer, to irrigation, and much more. Visit heroeslawncare.com.
All right, gentlemen, we've trained for this. We've battled the elements. But if there's one thing we can't afford, it's letting the heat take us out before the big game.
But, Coach, the AC at my house is busted. I barely got any sleep last night.
Well, Johnson, you should have called Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. They're the real MVPs. Now let's cue the cool music.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. The coolest cats in town.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is more than just a legal process. It's a life-changing event that can impact your future, finances, and your relationship with your children. You've worked hard to build a life that you're proud of, and you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rolling.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case. Plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the King of Beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
Take your taste buds to One Night Taco Stand for Taco Tuesday. Get $2.99 tacos and $6.99 specialty drinks. The 1010XL restaurant of the day is One Night Taco Stand, Mandarin, Orange Park, and Southside at Bay Meadows.
Parents, now is the time to sign your kids up for the best basketball league in the 904. Tommy Houlihan's Summer Beaches Basketball League. Season starts in June, and games will be played in the St. Paul's Gym. Go to TommyHoulihanBasketball.com for all the info.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. With so many competitive pest services in town, you might wonder why Kingfish Pest Control's business is booming while similar companies seem to be struggling. It all comes down to service, affordability, and effectiveness. Kingfish Pest Control is a local family-owned company who delivers on their promises to effectively control pests like ants, spiders, roaches, termites, mosquitoes, and more. Your home is their priority, so call today and discover why your neighbors and your buddy Hayes Carlion trust Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jaguars.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. By now, everyone has heard about saving money on their energy bills. There are all sorts of things you can do to cut energy costs, but most people don't think about their windows.
But Window World knows that the biggest energy loss in almost every home is the windows. There is more energy loss from old builder-grade windows than just about anything else in your home.
You can upgrade your heating and air, your appliances. That's good too. But before you do all that, upgrade your windows to Window World's energy-efficient windows.
Window World's windows are easy to clean, energy efficient, and have the best guarantee in the business.
Window World's slogan is simply the best for less, and we mean it. You get great American-made windows, and you get to keep more of your money when you buy from Window World. Need any more reasons to buy your windows from Window World? Call them today and set up your free in-home estimate, or go online to windowworldneflorida.com. Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
New year, new club. This is Joe C., and I'm proud to be a member of Southampton. And with the popularity of golf, getting a tee time is tough. But with membership comes member privileges. Enjoy clubhouse dining, expanded practice area, focusing on all parts of your game. And right now, you can join with an annual commitment and get a $1,000 discount, plus $500 of Pro Shop credit. All the details are online at golfsouthampton.com or call 287-PLAY and make a tee time today at the Golf Club of Southampton.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, this tweet here, Tony, I thought was spot on from Shane. Starting running back in the final year of his contract. Check. Free agency focused on the O-line. Check. 4 out of the 10 players signed were offensive linemen. Offense with 2 running back formations. I'm sure, the Bucs did that plenty of times. Coach wants to run. Check. A need for playmakers to support the quarterback. Check. GM says he wants to be bold when it's time to be bold. Why is no one mocking a running back who might be the best player in the draft to Jacksonville? And again, we've talked about it as a possibility that can't be dismissed. I don't think it's the likeliest outcome still. But
I think it's pretty high on the list, though.
It's not. It can't be that far down.
Yeah.
And especially those Bowles comments really had me thinking about that. Like, if Todd Bowles were in this situation, he'd be like, I'll find another defensive tackle. Right? I'll get one in round 3. And granted, they have Vita Vea. But you don't understand. If they had the same personnel, you're like, get me the guy who's going to put touchdowns on the board. I can't replicate that. This is the guy. What takes more pressure off Trevor? Well, having a dominant offensive line, you can't fix everything. You plugged holes on the offensive line. You think you could see the 5 guys projected opening as the starting 5. I'm with you. I still think offensive line is strongly in play at number 5. That only fixes one spot, And it only actually upgrades one spot. It's not like if you drafted a wide receiver there, to me, you're basically filling a complete hole. Like, I'm sorry, I don't consider De'Ami Brown the second wide receiver on this team. If he turns out to be, then they are gambling a lot with the 2025 season.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's how it's going to work out, but yes.
Right, but at the moment, right, it feels like there's a hole there. I don't think there's a hole on the offensive line at the moment, right? I mean, you've got 5 guys under contract that you could convince yourself that, yes, we can upgrade, but is it a massive need to do that immediately? Again, it comes down to the value of the player. You say the same thing about running back. Just what this tweet said. Starting running back, final year of his deal. And he's averaged under 4 yards a carry 2 years running. Now, granted, Dylan made the point on the break. We've brought it up before. The strongest argument against this is Saquon Barkley with the Giants versus Saquon Barkley with Philadelphia. If this is the guy you're going to compare Genti to, one of those guys, with the Giants, he was very good. He was 1,300-yard rusher. Super, in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield. How much did he impact the one-loss record? They didn't have all the pieces around him. You get behind a great offensive line, and he becomes otherworldly.
Mm-hmm.
Becomes, one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. So granted, we don't have that offensive line, but would you take a 1,300-yard back who can have another 400 yards receiving out of the gates and breakaway ability and tackle breaking ability and on and on and on and on? And juice and firepower and all that. This, again, something to think about. Mm-hmm. It's probably not going to happen. But if it does, I'm not going to be completely stunned.
No,
right, let's put it that way. All right, let's get to our Tuesday top 5. Top 5 players that are not quarterbacks that we are not in favor of the Jags selecting. Tony, lead us off with the first one, Dylan.
Number 5.
Yeah, this is tough, right? Like, this was a tough list to get together because I don't really have 5 players that I'm like, no. Like, I really don't have that kind of thing. So it was more looking into them and trying to find reasons for why maybe I wouldn't like them or why I don't think the team is going to be interested in them.
Okay.
Right? Like, trying to find those kind of things. And number 5 is a player that we talked about yesterday. Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan is number 5 on my list, especially for a Jaguars group that wants to stress the intangible trait of loving ball. There seems to be plenty of noise in the system surrounding Nolan about exactly those kind of questions as to why this year was he so much more productive than he's been in years past. And at least the talk around the program is we don't know how much he loved it, right? But now he's got an opportunity to make some money for himself, a name for himself, and he showed up in that moment. That does make me nervous and kind of makes me think that as good a player as he looks like he could be in the league, that kind of thing I think can get you shoved way down the Jaguars draft board this year, especially in the first few rounds.
Yeah, I could see that happen. You could also make the argument, and just to play devil's advocate, that, okay, Mason Graham, we think he loves ball, right?
Yeah.
Well, Walter Nolan last year was more productive in the sack department than the ball-loving Mason Graham was the last 2 years combined, right?
Sure.
So he's got the ability to do it. The question is, can you get that motor to turn on every single time? All right, I went with a defensive lineman here at number 5. And, again, at the right price, it's like fantasy football. I don't want this guy, but if you give him to me in the 14th round, I might be interested. Deion Walker, the defensive tackle out of Kentucky.
That's who I have it for.
You do? Okay, here is the write-up that I think PFF put out. His measurables jump out immediately, but his play on the field does not match the dominance suggested on paper. Versatile defensive lineman due to his height and length, but he needs more precision in his pass rushes, and he must hold his ground more consistently to be more than a rotational player. Now, granted, any defensive tackle by definition is going to be to some degree a rotational player. Most positions are like that, unlike offensive line, wide receiver, quarterback, some exceptions. But if I'm drafting that guy, this massive dude, I want him to eat that space and shut down the run for me. And because if I'm waiting into the middle rounds to get a defensive tackle, that's the trait I think I can find there the most. That worries me a little bit, that he is more a measurables versus production guy.
Yeah, and he was the guy that coming into this year was being talked about as maybe a top 15 prospect in the draft.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's the kind of conversations that were being had around Walker, and he's coming off a 7.5 sack season 2 years ago. Last year went to 1.5. What happened? Right? Like, just what happened? Because the conversation on him seems to have flipped, and that those kind of guys They do. They make me nervous come draft time.
Denmark.
Number 5, I don't feel strong about this, but Ted McMillan. Even if you had to kind of phrase this, even if the Jags trade back to just say for the sake of argument 15 to 20.
Okay.
I just think that drafting a receiver in the first round, you have so many other needs on this team outside of receiver. I know some people like Tony have that as a top priority. I don't have that as a top priority, at least the top 3 needs of position. But I'd go Ted McMillan first, number 5 for me, receiver.
All right. I think there's a difference between a need and a priority, right? Like they need wide receiver. I'm not going to prioritize it if the guy isn't the right guy, though, right? Like I would be interested. I did the same thing in my head. Like certain guys, even if I traded back, like I'd be interested. Like if I could move back to like 11 and get Ted McMillan there, I definitely would be interested to see what else they got along with him. Anyway, all right. So let's move along.
Number 4
in the countdown. All right, number 4 for me. I did a combo platter here.
Okay.
It's 2 guys, but it's basically to illustrate the kind of position. We just moved on from Evan Ingram. Right, Evan Ingram could play in this league, but he's not that all around gonna knock your butt in the dirt kind of blocker, that they seem to favor. And so just the pure pass catcher type tight end, the offensive weapon, the guy that you'd love to draft on your fantasy team may not be the type of tight end that fits. So for that, I put Colston Loveland here, who PFF has ranked at number 25, but most people think he's going to go somewhere in that middle of the first round, it appears. And I put Harold Fannin Jr. on there as well. Super productive. But if you're going to tell me you're going to turn around and draft Harold Fannin, why didn't you just keep Evan Ingram for a year and ease that transition into what you're trying to do? Is $6 million in cap space, which I'm sure you have more than that right now, worth it to move on from that guy? So I put the more one-dimensional offensive weapon tight end at number 4, giving you those 2 examples. Dylan, who you got at 4?
I went Darian Porter, corner out of Iowa State, 6th-year redshirt senior. Didn't see significant action on defense until 2024. Limited sample size, was targeted 17 times, only gave up 5 catches. He is considered a project at 24 years old. I do not want to draft a project at corner when he's projected to go in the middle of the second round, maybe early third.
Gotcha.
Number 4, I had Walker.
I know you did.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to add anything or
no.
We covered it pretty well.
We went through it, yep.
All right, moving on.
Number 3.
Who you got, Denmark?
I'm going to go Cam Scatterboo, just because running back projected to go 3rd round. And in a draft class where there's so many good running backs, if I'm going to get a running back, which I think the Jags will do, I want to get a guy that can be a home run hitter, where you can get a guy where you have the ball at your, midfield, maybe your own 40, and he can break one and take one to the crib. I don't think Cam Scatterboo was that kind of guy in the NFL. I could be wrong about that. I'm going to say Cam Scatterboo. I think he's more of a goal line guy than an every down back.
Okay.
Yeah, his home run is turning 5-yard runs into 10.
Yeah, breaking tackles, pushing the pile. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of James Robinson-esque, right, back in the day. And, of course, he was an undrafted free agent. But, all right, Tone, who do you have at 3?
Number 3 for me, Oregon wide receiver Tej Johnson. My thoughts on him bounce back and forth, but I can't get past the 154 pounds and not breaking 4.5. Like, I just can't get past that when I look at him. I've seen him projected in the 3rd round, which is more of why he lands on this list for me. There is a point on day 3 where I would consider him because of the productivity he had during his time there at Oregon, but at the price that they have him at right now, I'm not interested.
You give us any of these guys at pick 221, by the way, we're changing our tune, but we're trying to factor in where we expect them to come off the board. For me, I went wide receiver as well. I went with Ole Miss's Trey Harris here, okay? One of the scouting reports I read on, obviously, he's good at high pointing the ball. He's good at stretching the field. We got a pretty good field stretcher here, and we think we brought in another one in De'Ami Brown. Gabe Davis is actually, that's where he's excelled in his time in Buffalo, was having a high yards per catch average. But this route tree remains somewhat limited, relies heavily on vertical routes, can round off his cuts. In other words, he's not a precise route runner, particularly on comebacks. He is a valuable asset in contested catch situations in red zone. But where I'm seeing, Tone, if the Jags are going to be sure to get him, they might have to spend the 36th pick. I've seen him ranked somewhere in the 40s by some. I've seen him ranked as high as the 5th wide receiver in this draft, and that's a little too rich for my blood for a guy who projects to need a lot of rounding out to his game. He is a weapon if you need that aspect of it. I can understand somebody taking it. I don't think it's the best fit here. Who you got, Dylan? We're moving on to 2, right?
Number 2.
There you go. Who you got at 2? Tony, I think, is next up.
Yeah, East Carolina cornerback Sharon Ravel Jr. Coming off an ACL injury, but he has the size and kind of projected speed to have him getting first-round buzz. He was certainly getting that last year before the ACL injury, but someone will bet on the measurables. It won't be me.
I'm with you. There are a lot of corners I could put here, and I did put one, and it was Will Johnson out of Michigan, right? And who some still think, other than Travis Hunter, may be the best pure corner in this draft. Now, that's changed to some degree with Jahdae Barron climbing the boards out of Texas, but there are questions coming into the season about Will Johnson's speed, and he hasn't been able to dispel them at this point. I'm not saying that, a brilliant 40 time at a personal workout couldn't change somebody's mind, but for a guy who was at one point considered a significant potential target for the Jags at 5, even if the Jags trade back, I think there's a lot better directions, and I don't think they're going to trade back far enough to where I'd be comfortable taking him with the players likely to be on the board, and he's not at all likely to be available at pick 36. I'd rather just stick at 36. I think there's some interesting corners that are going to be available there. Who you got at 2, Dylan?
Tez Johnson, for same thing Tony said. He's a $155, 4.5 guy in the 40. If I'm getting a receiver, middle of the rounds, I want a deep threat guy, and I don't think that's him.
Well, maybe you can have Trey Harris then, if he lasts that long. All right, then, and we finally get to
number 1.
All right, let's do today's 10-10 take right here.
10-10
take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company, veteran owned and operated.
The last 4 that I listened, actually 5, but they were hard, right? Like I consider it honestly Mason Graham simply because I think that there's going to be value at defensive tackle later in the draft, and there are other positions they can go. But in the end, if they take Mason Graham, I'm not going to be that upset with it. It would be a major upset if I didn't name Shamar Stewart here.
Yeah,
right.
They could basically name these kind of lists this year. The Shamar Stewart list.
To me, radioactive, do not touch. Now, if he somehow ends up available at pick 36, at least that would be more palatable. It doesn't feel like in this year's draft there's much of a chance of him falling there, but I'm not looking for just traits. I want some production from my collegiate guys. If you can't turn those traits into production at that level, how are you going to expect to come in and make a major impact as a first-round pick? He is an edge rusher, of course, out of Texas A&M. I feel like we don't need to introduce him because we've talked about him so much. Tony, 4.5 sacks total in 3 years, 1.5 each year. Where's the production? He's got this great body. He's an all-airport team. There have been plenty of guys that have fooled draft analysts and analyzers and GMs with that kind of makeup. Not for me.
I have him at number 1 too, and I think the way that Cohen and Gladstone have talked, I would be stunned if they took a risk on a player like that.
Agreed.
This year.
At least that high.
Yeah.
Where he's going to come off the board.
Like, I just don't think and really, I think it applies in my mind to the first 2 or 3 rounds, where I think they're going to be very, very solid is the kind of players that they're trying to get at those points. I don't think they're willing to take a bunch of risk with a bunch of guys. It's why Genty makes sense at 5 because of the player profile on the guy.
You pretty much know what you're getting.
Right. Like that kind of thing. It's part of the reason that I can convince myself that would make sense for the Jags at that spot. Stewart, I can't see my way around it. And someone's going to take a risk on him, and it'll pay off or it won't.
He's ranked by PFF 28th, and that's right in the a team that is a perennial playoff team.
Philadelphia drafts him. No one's going to bat an eye.
Because you don't need him to produce right away if you're the Eagles, right? And maybe
Jacksonville's not in that spot.
I'm with you, man. Even if they trade back, Tony,
no.
Even if he's released. Dylan, who you got at 1?
Shamar Stewart.
All right.
Workout warrior.
Shamar Stewart. That was kind of the one guy I knew I would have in there.
Yeah.
And again, they take Harold Fannin Jr., if they get him in the 4th round and they've got a plan to use him, I'm not going to hate it, but I'm just going to wonder, why didn't you just keep Evan Ingram then?
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird year for the edge guys because, the also-rans kind of my list. I thought about Mike Green.
Yeah, right? I left all the does he have character concerns or not? Mostly to the wayside.
James Pierce Jr. It's kind of the same thing with Tennessee. It's kind of a teams are going to have to pick through that kind of thing.
To be fair to Mike Green, he's been accused, by the way, of like sexual assault 2 different times. Never been charged. Never been convicted of anything. Denies it strenuously. But do I want that cloud hanging over my first round selection? I don't. Personally, is that fair? Maybe not, but it's a reality of how I feel.
Absolutely.
But I could have easily gone that route with you and just made one of these numbers, anybody like that. Kyron Lacey, some of the obvious guys that I think will just probably be off the Jags board because where you're going to have to invest in them to take that chance. All right, we'll come back our final segment of the day. Look at a few of your top 5 submissions along the way as well. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here. I try to only recommend the absolute best companies that I've had a personal positive experience with, particularly if I use them in my own home, like Pella Windows and Doors. I can give you that full-hearted recommendation. 100% I recommend you go with Pella. If you have any need for doors, windows, Consumer Reports will tell you Pella is the best company to go with. You can upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months right now. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Online at PellaJacks.com or stop by their showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Play-by-play just makes everyday life better.
I did not see this one coming.
Get the most play-by-play on 1010XL, Jacksonville's play-by-play sports radio.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning is here to save the day with a free AC system inspection. Call now, 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning, duckduckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
1010XL's draft previews are brought to you by Hurricane Grill and Wings.
Mason Graham from Michigan has been a player many have connected to Jacksonville in this year's draft. Graham provides activity, effort, strength, and quickness, with the first step that makes the defensive tackle's interior disruption inevitable. And although he doesn't have the freakish size, length, or athleticism that others might offer, he is tough, consistent, and productive. And that's what the Teal and Black need inside.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
Get to know positions and players. The 1010XL Ultimate Draft Guide is brought to you by Blue Haven Pools, the #1 pool builder in Jacksonville. Follow rankings and roundtables as the draft takes shape. Go to 1010XL.com/2025 draft guide to get yours. Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Right now, get 15% off roof replacement and repairs. Financing is available with monthly payments as low as $115. But this deal ends April 30th. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and it's always great when you can replace a problem with a promise. And let me get right down to it. When it comes to Chad and Sandy and selling your home, here's a promise that you can count on. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Now, more. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down. Activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though, and hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize hassle is the key. Those expert agents, and I'm recommending them to sell your home, Chad and Sandy Newman. There have been lots of you out there on the First Coast who are taking advantage. Take David and Heather in Fox Ridge. This is out in Orange Park. We wanted to move to Keystone Heights to get closer to family, away from the city. We heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. What you hear is true. We got multiple offers and sold in 3 days for $15,000 above asking price. Call the local experts I trust and recommend to sell my home and yours. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200, ChadAndSandy.com.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. There was a time when if you handed me a bread basket at a restaurant, you better watch your fingers. Pizza, pasta, bread. Carbs were absolutely my weakness. I'd be lying if I said they didn't have me hooked. Then Awaken 180 came into my life. I've been down every diet road there is, but this is different. It's not just another diet. It's a total reset of how you see food. You know that carb craving that we all accepted as normal? That's gone for me now. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy the good stuff, but here's the difference. I no longer feel like I need them. So when the server puts that bread basket on the table, I just smile, sit back, and say, nah, I'm good. That feeling of control is all thanks to Awaken 180. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on Awaken 180. Hacker lost more than 110. Baloo is on his way, and you can lose whatever you want to lose. It doesn't matter what your goal weight is. Awaken 180 weight loss will get you there quickly and safely. It's a clear path to success without disappointment. Awaken 180 has changed my life, and it will change yours too. Give them a call at 844-346-1800 or go to awaken180weightloss.com. Trust me, you'll thank yourself.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com. Powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
A chipped windshield can turn into a big problem fast. Lauren Brooks here. Trust Novus Glass of Jacksonville for expert repair and replacement. Call 904-289-2905 for Novus Glass in Orange Park. 904-289-2905.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since 87.
All right, we're less than 20 minutes away from the Gator Love Fest rolling on here this afternoon. Just a brief pause in the festivities to talk some Jaguar football. NFL draft creeping up on us. Denmark, tomorrow. We got to set the grid tomorrow, man. We're 2 weeks out from the mini mock draft.
I started setting the grid yesterday.
Did you now?
I did.
Right.
I got a list of contacts I can start hitting up.
Who do we think should select for the Jags this year?
Frangie did it last year.
He did. He also picked Brian Thomas,
And
so
he
that was
did.
good.
So, are we thinking of like one of our guys? Like
I don't know. I mean, I don't see why we'd go outside the circle of trust. You know,
I'm thinking D-Rock.
Okay. Is he just going to bore me with Mason Graham? I'd like a little spice to this selection.
Oh, okay. I'll think about that then.
I don't know. I don't know if that he would take Mason Graham. By the way, Mason Graham may, in fact, be the pick. And I'm not going to tell somebody they can't take him if he's there.
It was funny last year when I called these guests. I called Matt Moscona for the Saints,
Mm-hmm.
and I told him who was on the board, who was taken. He's like, he laughed at Bo Nix going to Denver because the person who we called, Andrew Mace, from Denver, he's like, we're going to take Bo Nix. And then he laughed at that. Like, there's no way Bo Nix is going to Denver. Sure enough. Happened that way.
I mean, what was it? What was the year? 2010. When did we draft Aluwalu? Was it 2010? Whatever it was. Something around there. I don't know. And the last pick of our mock, it was the year after New Orleans won the Super Bowl, I think, right? And we had we had a New Orleans correspondent on, and he obviously wasn't really paying attention because he picked somebody that had already been selected, even though they get briefed. And then he goes, oh, he's taking, give me that defensive lineman from Cal, Lulu or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know who the hell you're talking about, bro. I'm sorry. And that night, because we were doing the mock the same day. I'm pretty sure it was the same day. It might have been the day before. But either way, within a day, there we were taking Tyson. Oh, my gosh. Couldn't pass up the opportunity. He would have been long gone if we tried to trade down, huh? Okay. And that would have been just fine. All right, let's look at a few submissions today for the Tuesday top 5. These are players. Now, I don't know every player in the draft. When you give me a first initial, there's a good chance I might not know that player, who that is. But Odie, our man Odie Ogreezy, went with Will Campbell, Shamar Stewart, Malachi Starks, Kelvin Banks, Tyler Warren. I'm suspecting he thinks you got to take any of them in the first round, right? And Will Campbell would be the most likely to go as high as 5, but not interested in him. That's fair. Let's see. Moving on. Jag Fan 15. Gray Zabel does not want Gray Zabel. JT Tuimoloau. Sounds like an offensive lineman to me. I think he is, right? Is he he's not the kid out of Arizona that's got a somewhat similar name. Cam Jackson, is that the Florida defensive lineman?
Yes, sir.
Right? I almost put him in my mock this week in the 6th round. Garrett Dellinger, Jordan Phillips, a couple other guys there. Let's see here from Aaron. He doesn't want Will Johnson, Shamar Stewart, Luther Burden, Mike Green, or Trevor Etienne. Trevor Etienne, I feel like gets mocked to the Jags sometimes because, isn't that funny? Because they've already got an Etienne. We'll give him another one. I feel like on some of these 7-round mocks, that's the reason why he ends up in Jacksonville. Ed gave us some reasoning here. Ted McMillan, not confident he'll be elite, and he's slated to go early. Okay? Gray Zabel, I'm biased against small school linemen who appear late in the process. You know what? That certainly fits Gray Zabel's profile.
Sure.
Ashton Genty. Not enough positional value. Cam Scattaboo fumbles too much. And then Kyron Lacey, he said, I ran out of serious names. And, Kyron Lacey cannot be on the Jaguars draft radar. Now, I'll say this because you never know what happens with the legal system. I will not be upset anytime the Jags spend a 7th-round pick on a problem child type player that they think has talent that otherwise – who knows? Draft Kyron Lacey. Right. Maybe he has, you don't get anything out of him for a year or two and you keep his rights. Who's to say if he's, a lot of people consider him like a 3rd-round value, but he's got, negligent homicide, I think is what he's accused of for racing, caused a head-on collision, and fled the scene, I believe is the charges. Our man Bush Drive Rich said, no one from a Division II school. That's number 1 for him.
Okay.
Number 2 is no tight end until after the 4th round. After the 4th round. And I can kind of understand that, too. Sure. If they're not going to be a focal point of the passing game. We've done that 2nd-round tight end who's a ferocious blocker, and he's still on the roster. No upside picks, period, at number 3. He wants safe contributors. I think you get to a point, man, that's all I'm looking for is upside. Yeah. With those 6th and 7th round selections. No backup players drafted till the 5th round. That could be tough now in this draft.
Yeah.
Are you going to pull 6 starters out of the first 4 rounds for the Jags? Not saying you couldn't, but 6, what are we talking about? No backups down the road, or you expect them to all start immediately if you draft them in the first 4 rounds?
You can't draft an edge?
Can't get a 3rd edge rusher if he's not going to start unless you're pushing Trayvon inside and getting crazy with it. So he says, I'm not a draft genius. I'm just going by our history of drafting. Look, they're all fine. All these are valid opinions and thoughts. I'm certainly not a draft genius myself. Here's one from Nolan. He doesn't want Matthew Golden, the Texas wide receiver. Doesn't want Jalen Walker. Doesn't want Shamar Stewart. I think that's a fair one for everybody. Michael Williams does not want, or any tight end, said Nolan. Cristiano went at 5, going 5-1. Kyron Lacey, Tez Johnson, Mason Taylor, Colston Loveland, and Tyler Warren.
He doesn't want tight ends either.
He doesn't. I'd feel better about Mason Taylor only if I could get him at 70.
Yeah, maybe. Something in that kind of range is more where I think I would even really be seriously considering it for the first time.
I see a handful of mocks with him sneaking into the tail end of the first round.
Yeah.
Okay. And certainly, the presumption is if you want to be sure you get him, if you're the Jags, you'd have to take him at 36.
Yeah.
So let's see. One more. All these very similar. This list from Andrew. Will Campbell, not a guard. His arm's length is a proven outlier. Well, we'll see. Michael Williams disappeared too many times. Shamar Stewart, bulky wood, though. Yeah, you got that right. That's reason enough. Ashton Genty, love the guy, but not the value. Matthew Golden, not a fit. So those are some of the submissions we got on the Tuesday top 5 of the non-quarterbacks you don't want to see the Jaguars select this year. With that, our time is done. Let's welcome in Helmets and Heels.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
Hello, Taylor Dahl.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
We're doing very well. I'm sure you have a lot to get into, but I have 2 specific questions for you today. All right, let's start with the first one. Is there a player that, a non-quarterback, that you simply don't want the Jags to draft for whatever reason that is?
In general or at 5?
At any spot.
Okay.
Like, you just don't think where you'd have to take them, they don't represent a good value.
So I'll say just starting with 5, because we've obviously had a lot of conversations about that. And I've been very open, which the text line has yelled at me, but I've been very open about there's multiple guys I'd be fine with at 5. The position group / player I probably would not is wide receiver. I don't love any of the wide receivers enough to take them at 5. I just don't see the value there for me, whether it's Tet. I know some people are saying maybe they trade back a little, and Matthew Golden's got invited to the draft now at this point and things like that. But for me, I would be fine with Will Campbell. I'd be fine with Mason Graham. I'd be fine with Ashton Genty, and a lot of people get mad at me about that.
I'm not mad.
I like all of those guys. I think it's position groups that would be upgraded immediately, and to me, that's a big factor. I do think wide receiver is something you still need to address, but to me, this wide receiver class, I don't love to pick in one of those top picks. Personally.
I love Kuiper giving us Egbuka at 36.
So, yeah,
a lot that's been a more common theme lately in some mocks. We get him there at 36, which, I think we'd all be on board with that. By the way, Todd Bowles, I don't know if you saw the comments. We talked about him today. He's like, look, you can scheme up defense in this league. If you don't have playmakers on offense, you cannot win at a big-time level. So that, to me, makes me wonder, does Liam Cohen share some of that philosophy? But anyway, the other question I wanted to ask you is, does the fact that they picked up the 5th-year option on Trayvon Walker and did not, at least as of yet, announce the same for Devin Lloyd, same draft, they're both eligible at the same time, is that a pretty clear indication that they're not going to pick up the 5th-year option on him?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it seems like that's the route because, to your point, I don't know if they know what to do with Devin Lloyd completely. And I feel like this last year we talked a ton about, he put on that weight and what was that going to look like? Where were they going to put him? I think this new regime, which we've seen, they don't love this roster too much. And we've seen that by some of the moves they made in free agency. But I wonder if they want to see more of Lloyd and how he fits in this Campanelli defense. And does he have a place? Because that is the thing. I don't know if we quite know what his defenses are going to look like because he's worked with people who do a lot of different things. And so what is he bringing? Is he bringing mixes of everything? Are we going to see a Flores defense? What exactly are we going to see here in Jacksonville? So where does Devin Lloyd fit in that? Trayvon Walker, you're going to make fit.
Of course.
You're going to.
But you think about it, if Devin Lloyd's not here on the 5th-year option, that means this is likely his last year in Jacksonville. Okay, Foye is going to be 30 in August, but he still got some more productive years. What do they have at linebacker? I mean, Ventrell Miller, but what do they think about Ventrell Miller?
Yeah. Because I like him, but that doesn't mean they like him.
Because, Tony, I've done a bunch of these mocks. We're picking 10 players.
Yeah.
And oftentimes 0 linebackers in the draft. And I think that we may be wrong about that ultimately.
And also, that kind of sucks. And that shows what these kind of a failure the last couple drafts have been, too, because the amount of defensive linemen and linebackers you've taken or Trent Baalke has taken in those drafts, and now you feel like you're back at the same spot of possibly needing another one.
Or they get through the draft, realize there was no value there, and they pick it up then because you have until May 1st.
Yeah,
so I'm not saying that just because
this
they
is
didn't pick it up,
it's not happening.
Can't happen.
Yeah.
But it was curious to me
that interesting.
They announced it for Trayvon and crickets on Devin Lloyd. Anyway.
Yeah, the Trayvon, also the hate for Trayvon when it comes to people outside of Jacksonville truly blows my mind.
Until they want to trade for him, and they want to give it, they'll give us. We'll give him a 4th-round pick. They need picks. We got more draft capital than you, bub.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all stuck in the same spot we all were after his rookie year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when's it going to show up?
Yeah.
Right.
Now
okay,
it's
so
shown
it's not
up.
It
Aiden
has.
Hutchinson.
You've seen it.
If you could make Aiden Hutchinson disappear, like
Yeah.
he never
Yeah.
existed, I think people would probably feel.
If he was picked third, it would not be honestly, it would be like, man, Jags got a guy. But
right.
because
And just because they may have made the wrong selection doesn't mean he's not really
good player.
and
Yeah.
a building block. So
Yeah.
I'm sure plenty of Gator Love Fest. So
Oh, yeah.
I will clear the decks and enjoy the next 2 hours.
Thank you.
All right. Taylor Dahl with Helmets and Heels coming up. Tomorrow, we do Mock Draft Wednesday. We'll have Chad Ryder stop by, Tone, from NFL.com with a fresh 5-rounder out there. I've already knocked mine out. No trades for me anymore. I feel like, I'd love to.
I'm with you.
I just don't feel like if Hunter and Carter are both gone, I don't know. The only possible way I'd consider it is if one of the QB-needy teams wanted to jump a few spots to get Shedeur Sanders. But if they made that deal and it wasn't, I'm going to start it over again. Because I just don't, at this point, I think we're going to be picking 5.
Yep.
So, all right, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for playing along with the Tuesday Top 5. For Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. Back at it again tomorrow for 2 more hours with Jaguars.